So for today's video, we are doing the pockets. Now, last week we did the pocket facing, so that's the front of the pockets. So this is the pattern. I'll get my hands out the way so you can have a quick look. And we made 5 of these. So we'll turn the page, make a lot of noise when it hits everything, and the cat goes off. So we made 5 of them. Where's the one? So this is what they look like. Yes, cat. This is what they look like finished from last week. So we did 5 of those. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to edge all of the pieces. And edging means that we're single crocheting all the way around. And it's all right at the top and the bottom because we have a stitch to go into. But on the sides, we need to space them. And because these are rectangles, this number and this number are the same. This number and this number are the same. Not all 4 the same. So I'm going to show you that today. But also, I worked out the, what do you call it? Gussets? Yes, I think it would be the gussets for the pockets. So if you look at the picture of the dog on the screen at the moment, you'll see on the pockets on the sides, they are like 3-dimensional look, which means they have some kind of gusset down the sides to push them out a bit so you can put a bit more in the pockets. So coming back to these squares, this is what I've worked out. So I've gone all the way around the edge. I haven't increased in the corners so that they will tuck under when we sew them onto the basket. And all I'm going to do with these is I'm going to sew sew the back loops together through the basket. It'll make more sense when we do it, but yeah. And the top bit, I thought I would put a button up here. I mean, it's going to be sewed below, but if we put a button at the top, it covers up this chain which allowed us to keep going. And also it's a nice feature. So the button is not on the picture, but I thought it looked nice. So that's what today's project will be. So first thing we need to do is we need to get the light coloured yarn. Put the glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Now when I did these ones, I start and finished on where I finished the last row, and I worked over the ends. Because this is a pocket on a stationary item, we can work over the ends. If this was on a garment or on a toy, we'd have to weave the ends in. But as it's not going to be moved or roughed up too much, we can work over the ends. So we will make our slip knot, put it on the hook because we're going to do a standing start, and we are going to do it into the corner. Now, I will just go like that. I should write this out, shouldn't I? Let's get a pen. All right, so first thing you want to do, I'm going to write it up here, is standing start in end row stitch, and then you want to SC chain 1 SC in that stitch. So we put brackets around that, and I'm going to put an arrow to that one. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in the end. So leave that there so you can see it, and untangle all the yarn. So to work over the ends, you line them up and put them on the top edge. I'm not going to put it in the chain 1 because we haven't got enough meat behind it for it to catch anyway. And then we do the second single crochet. So that is our first corner, and it's in the very last stitch. Now we have to work down. Now we need 14 stitches here because these are our long sides, and we need 12 on either side. So what I usually do first, we go, make sure you always got 2 strands above going through the stitch. We're going to put 1 stitch there, and then 1 stitch, if you can see it, there's like a little hole here. That's actually the top of the row below stitch. So basically for every row we have, we get 2 stitches out of. So the corner 1 and 1, and then this is the top one and the next one. So that's what I worked out worked fairly good. I'm going to do the row and then come back and see if I've got 12 stitches. Most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends on your tension when you're making your square. So it's just make sure that you're under 2 strands, not 1, because it will pull out and look weird. And yeah, that was the top of the stitch. That's the middle stitch. So now we need the top of the stitch again. And then the middle of the stitch. And then the top of the stitch again. Sometimes the top of the stitch you end up with 3. It's sometimes a little bit thick because you're also going over these ends. So just keep an eye on it. This one at the top of the stitch. All right, so we're down at the chain 2 that was at the bottom. So we want 1 in the second chain, and then we're at the corner. So then we got to wiggle through 2 here. I'm just going to do the first one of the corner just so we can count. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, is that one extra? Let's have a look. It was. All right, so I just had to take 1 out. So that's the 12 along the side. And you see how it's not buckling? It's fairly flat. That means we've spaced them right. If yours starts buckling, you've got too many stitches. If it starts going like this, you haven't got enough stitches. You know, curling without that in the way. So if it curls in, not enough. If it starts waving, there's too many. Buckling, waving, same difference. So now we just chain 1 and then we put a second one into the same spot because this is our next corner. Now, because if you remember last week, I worked into the back bumps, I can just go under, see the V's all along the bottom? That's what happens when you go under the back bumps. I like to do that because then it gives me a nice stable edge to crochet to. I do it on a lot of blankets as well. Saves time in the long run. And it gives you a nicer finish, I think. So we just do 1 in every stitch along here because this was our starting row, our chain 16 and then into the 4th bump, which gives us 14. That made a lot of sense. You'll know if you did last week's. Okay, so just go here. There's a bit of working out for this week. As you know, on the Saturday craft, from week to week, I work out what we're doing through the week to tell you on Saturday what we're doing. So I don't know what we're doing next Saturday because I haven't figured it out yet. You're learning as fast as I am. Another thing I wanted to tell you, I figured out what I'm going to do with the dog head. I've decided it will be, I'll just pause that for a second. It will be only, I'll bring that a bit more in. Remember I was trying to decide whether it was going to be a big stuffed piece here or just we'll put a cap on here and put the head on top of that. I decided I'm going to do the cap. That way this whole container can be the yarn bowl for the yarn to go in. So I've got some of this stuff. We call it plastic canvas. I'm not sure what it would be called anywhere else, but it's plastic with holes in it. You can make tissue box covers and stuff out of it. I had some left. So what I thought I'd do is I will measure off a piece the size I want and then go back to the last row of holes and then I will sew it to the holes on my container. And I'll probably just use a cotton to sew that on. So I will fit that, I'd say about there. So cut off the excess, sew it on. That way I can sew this to it. I might even put a bit of felt on. I will show you this in a video, but I'm just letting you know I've figured out what I want to do. I'll probably put a bit of felt underneath just so that nothing's going to catch on the yarn when it's in the yarn bowl. And it also gives me something else to sew the lining to on the inside. I may even use a bit of lining, I don't know. I was thinking felt more because it just gives it a bit of padding. So if you can find something like that for your container, I found this in an op shop or a thrift shop. It was just in the craft section in the thrift shop. So I think our craft store's Spotlight, it still has it, and I'm pretty sure other places still have it. They do make it. It's not as popular as it once used to be, but it's still there. So that's what we're going to do with that. So we'll get these out the way again and get back to going around our squares. And we had to do the last one. So now we're at that. Actually, that's weird. Oh yeah, that was the beginning one. Yeah, I thought I'd added an end. So this should be 14, counting the one in the corner. 2, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Oh, we can count. So that's all you do. So you need another 12 along here, counting the one in the corner. So I'm not going to do that all today because that's all we do. And when we get back to the top, you just slip stitch into the chain one, because your slip stitch becomes the first stitch of the corner in that row. So they're all ready to go. So the next thing I was going to show you is the gussets. So those two are ready to be put on. This is the one I'm going to show you how to put on. And these are the ones that I've already done. So I'm working in the back loops all the way around. And what that does is it gives us a nice edge on the top of the pocket. And we're going to sew them on through the black loops. I may even just sew those together down to the edge before I put them on the container. I shall show you that too. So if we bring our container down, these will sit like this, but they'll be upright a bit, so you won't see them. Well, you'll see them, but you won't see them. They give depth to the pockets. So that's where they will sit like that, and then you'll be able to put stuff into the tops. I think they look pretty good in regards to how the picture looked. So we need to have all 5 pockets along here. And if we can get the pockets done this week, we might start on the dog head, because that's the big bit. We have to get ourselves figured out what size eyes we need and all stuff like that. So I will show you how we do this. I better write the rest of this out for you, hey? So this will be a short row. We're starting with a short row, and we need to evenly space 12 stitches down, including corner stitches, because there's one at the top and one at the bottom. SC across bottom edge, and repeat up side. Bottom edge is 14 stitches for another 12 stitches. Chain 1 again, and then SC across the top edge. And join with a slip stitch to chain 1 in first corner. Secure and end off. Also work over ends as you go, and I'll put a star, so that will be up here across the bottom edge, so that would be the other end you're working over. So where the stars are, you're working over ends. All right, so this bit here was pocket edging. All right, so that's that bit. So now we're doing gusset. So what I did with the gusset I'm going to write what I did here because this is the start off. Can't really restart it for you. So this is pocket gusset. Right, with dark yarn. So I'm writing dark yarn, you use what you use. We're starting in the same corner. That looks like an M, it's an R. And we want to, in the chain one, we want to put a HDC. Now, up here, all in back loop only. HDC and a DC, both into the chain one. All right. Then we want to put DC in the next, now I think it's 11, let me just check. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yes, it's 11. So DC 11, then we want to do DC decrease in the next 2 stitches. One is the chain one, it'll be the second stitch, and then you also want to do another DC decrease in same last stitch, which is the chain one, and next stitch. Right, the reason why I've done that is so that it gives you a dense corner. Hopefully you can see those 2 stitches there, they're between my fingers. So it's made a dense corner. If I'd have just done one in each, that corner would bulge open. So doing a DC decrease but having 2 parts into the chain one has thickened up the corner for us. So it's given us a nice corner. And it should also start buckling now because we're not adding any stitches. Okay, so that's your corner. So if I go that and that is your corner. All right, so then we want to then we want to put a star here, and no we don't, all right, so now we want to go, so we did that one, so now it's the bottom edge, so it's just DC, and it's not 14 because we've already done 1, so that's 13, that's 12, so DC 12. Then we want to do another corner, and then DC 11, and then we just do the DC and HDC in last chain one. So that gets you from there all the way around to there, right? So that's your first square. My arrows are not really good. There we go. So all the difference between the first square and every other square is this little chain 4, which gets us so that they can line up and start again. So we just go chain 4 to join. That's not join, that's join. And then we go back to the top and start again. So you'll end up with them like bunting, all joined up together, but it'll make it easier to sew them onto the container. So I will just put my hook back in. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we're ready to go on the next one. Now you want to make sure they're all the same way. That's the top. Yes, it matches up. So we're starting there. This way also you're not worrying about, is it the right way up? Is it the wrong way up? Da, 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 da. So this loop on the hook is our standing loop. This one's the wrong way up, and we're working on this one. So we start off with a half double crochet, working over the other end into the chain one. And let me just check, did I do that? I did that wrong. I said the back loop, didn't I? So into the back loop of the chain one. Got to be consistent. And then the DC into the chain one. And then it's just working your way down the side of the square. You know what? My yarn's the wrong way up. Try it that way. Might run a bit better. Keep the end of the yarn you're working over on the top of the piece. That way you know you're going over it. Bring it on the top. If it was a different colour, I'd be putting it at the back on the top, but because it's the same colour, you can go on the front. All right, we're nearly there. So I just wanted to show you this corner. I think that would be our last one. Let me just check in a sec. So that's our chain one. Yes, it is. So that's the chain one there. That's that one there. So I need one more. Pull a bit more yarn. So now we're doing a DC decrease. So it means we do the first pull through and then we do another beginning of a DC and the first pull on that one and then pull through the lot. So that's our first DC decrease. This is our next one. So the first pull through and then another stitch up to the first pull through, then pull through the lot. You want this to be fairly tight so that it cups around. And that's how you do the corner and join up and do that. So we want to do that with all 5. And if you want to get really adventurous, you can pin them on your container and see how they look, you know, put them in place. That's why we did the container bit first, so we can play around where the pockets sit. And if you really want to, you can even start sewing them on. But I would join, let me put my stitch holder in my active loop. I would join this side. You can either do it any way you like. You can either just whip stitch that way, or I would actually whip stitch this way. So just sew from the HDC in the corner down to the first DC decrease. So just that much. That way they'll tuck under still, and then you can sew them on as a piece onto your container. And I would just sew down the middle of there and across the bottoms. And we'll leave this with a button at the top. If you don't like the idea of a button, just sew that down too. It looks like a bit of a loop on the picture. So that's what today's video was about. I'll move all this out the way so you can see the patterns. So you just repeat this for every square. So they make a whole bunting of 5 squares that we will attach to our container. And if you want to find some plastic canvas, if you can't get plastic canvas, you could use a heavy felt. Cut it to the shape you need for how big you want the dog head to be. I would just get it ready for next week, because we might actually work on that next week. We'll sew the pockets on next week and start working on the dog head, because that's quite a big part of this. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed that and hope you're keeping up. Please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next Saturday.